Hi guys, it's Sherry. I hope that you're having a fantastic day. Y'all, today I'm going to share my 7 tips for paper crafting. Stay tuned. Welcome to everyone who stopped by to watch this video. This will not be a tutorial video, but I do think it'll be helpful because I get questions all of the time about paper crafting. So I decided that I would put together 7 tips, whether you are a new paper crafter or you are a seasoned paper crafter. Hopefully one of these will be a good takeaway for you. Now please keep in mind that these are just tips from me. This is not the be-all and the end-all in paper crafting. They are just some tips that I think will help all of us get the most enjoyment that we can out of this craft that we all love. So what I'm hoping is that at least 1 or 2 of these tips will resonate with some of you. So what I did was I made notes on my notepad so that I can stay on topic and not start to ramble. I'm not texting or checking messages. I'm truly looking at my 7 tips for paper crafters. If paper crafting is something that you know you're going to spend a lot of time doing and you want to try to turn it into a profitable hobby, then I think that tip number 1 is for you. And tip number 1 is to invest in some basic tools. And by basic tools, I mean a scoreboard, adhesive, and scissors. Now, if you're just going to be the occasional crafter, maybe you don't want to invest in a scoreboard. Maybe you have another way that's working for you. But if this is something that you know you're going to spend quite a bit of time doing, then investing in a scoreboard will save you a lot of that manual work that you'll have to do if you don't have one. You can measure and score without a scoreboard, but it will take some work, especially if you're doing multiples and multiples and multiples. If you're prepping for a craft fair, if you are prepping for your first ever craft fair, having a scoreboard will save you so much time on making your projects. So a scoreboard, adhesive, scissors, or some type of a cutting blade will serve you well if this is something that you know you're going to spend a lot of time doing. And all of the other bells and whistles that you see being used in paper crafting, those are very nice to have somewhere down the road if you want to add to your paper crafting tool collection. But to start out, just have that scoreboard, adhesive, and then some way to cut that paper. Because as most of you who watch my channel know, the majority of the projects that I make on my channel are made with those 3 things. And the tips that I'm sharing are in no particular order of importance. And my tip number 2 is to purchase some cheap construction paper, the type of construction paper that children use in their arts and crafts. If you don't have some paper that you're not too fond of in your collection to practice on, then cheap construction paper is a great alternative. Because what you definitely want to do is practice before you attempt to make a project that you have never made before. And doing that on cheap construction paper will save you a lot of headache, guys. You won't be committing your good paper or some paper that you might be able to use on another project. By purchasing some cheap construction paper, you will truly be using practice paper that has 0 importance to you, that you don't mind experimenting on until you get the look that you're going after. So if you have a whole stash of papers that might be in a paper pad that you're not too fond of, that's perfect to practice on. But if you don't, then buying some inexpensive construction paper is a great way to have practice paper. And then my 3rd tip is, especially for newbies, if you are just starting out in paper crafting, it can be overwhelming because there are so many wonderful crafters on YouTube. There are so many awesome projects being made, and you want to make all of them. But don't overwhelm yourself. Pick one type of project, master that, and then move on to another type of project. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. If you're new to paper crafting, I think that box making is the best way to learn 3D style paper crafting. And I think it's a good idea to spend as much time as you can making box after box after box. So when you go through the repetition of making many boxes, you're learning so many different skills that are transferable to other parts of 3D paper crafting. That's why I think that making boxes is the perfect way for anyone getting a foothold into 3D paper crafting. So for those of you who might have been a fan of the original Karate Kid, and Mr. Miyagi was explaining to Daniel the process of washing a car, wax on, wax off. He was doing more than teaching him the process of waxing a car, because that technique of wax on, wax off was very useful to Daniel down the road. So the point that I'm trying to make is the box making repetition of scoring, folding and burnishing, cutting and assembling is very much like wax on, wax off, because you take those learned skills throughout all parts of your 3D paper crafting. Tip number 4, I get so many comments of frustration because the project isn't working, it isn't working, it isn't working, and you make it look so easy. Yes, I do make it look easy, but Rome was not built in a day, and I was not born knowing how to do this. I have been doing this for decades, so I have a lot of practice with the processes that I'm showing you guys, and that's why it looks so easy. It wasn't always easy for me, and it might not be easy for you right now, but with practice, 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 repetition, 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 it will get easier and easier and easier. You will get so much better, and you'll just be so tickled pink with yourself that you hung in there, you didn't give up, and look at what you made. And whether it's me or any other paper crafter that you're watching, watch that video a couple of times before you attempt the project, and then measure, measure, measure before cutting. And tip number 5, don't compare yourself to other paper crafters. You will drive yourself crazy doing that. No one is better than you. Someone else might have more experience in paper crafting, but that doesn't make them better than you. They just happen to have more experience in that moment with that project. Can you get there? You absolutely can. But one of the most self-defeating things that we do is comparison. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. Don't compare where you are in your paper craft experience, in your paper crafting journey with anyone else. Just continue to learn and to grow on the path that is designed for you on your paper crafting journey, and you'll get there. Tip number 6 is a big one for me because I see it a lot in my comments where someone will make a comment that you used the wrong lace, you used the wrong paper, you used the wrong embellishment. And here's what I think of that. No, I didn't. Because if I chose it, then it's right. And I'm not saying that to be cocky or to say that everything that I do is great. What I'm saying is because I liked it and I chose it, then it's right for me. It might not be right for you, but it's right for me. So don't let anyone else impose their style on you. If you chose that paper, if you chose that ephemera, if you chose that embellishment, if you chose that ribbon or lace and you liked it, then that's all that matters. Do you like it? And some of you are probably thinking, well, what if I'm trying to sell my items? Shouldn't I try to make things that people are going to like? And here's my answer to that. I don't, because I make things that I like, and I make them the way that I like them. Unless you are doing commissioned work where the person has specified exactly what they want, if you spend your time trying to craft to someone else's likes, you will drive yourself mad. So craft in a way that you like. You can't go wrong with that. And then tip number 7, paper crafting is beautiful. It should be a stress reliever. It should never frustrate you. It should not make you upset. If you are doing a project and it's not turning out the way that you want, set it aside and go do another project. Go do something else and come back to that particular project later. Don't let it frustrate you because it shouldn't be. It's paper crafting. It should be fun. You should feel so good when you're doing it, and you should feel such a sense of accomplishment when you finish. And if you're not feeling that, then sometimes it's okay just to step away. But it's also okay to realize that happy accidents are going to happen. They happen to all of us. There's not a crafter on this planet, no matter the craft they're doing, that does not on occasions have those happy accidents, and that's okay. You just don't let them steal your joy. And those are my 7 tips on paper crafting. And you'll notice that there was pretty much a running theme through my tips. The majority of my tips had to do with the mental, having your head in the game, your mind and your spirit. Paper crafting brings so much joy, and when we approach it the right way mentally, we will find that joy in paper crafting. So I'm sharing these tips in the hopes of providing some motivational inspiration as you travel along your paper crafting journey, or as you travel along that journey of life, because a lot of these can be transferred into other aspects of our lives. Give it your best. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. If you like it, then it's right. Don't allow others to force you to change to suit them. And then I have a bonus tip. If you have mom and pop scrapbook stores, shop them, because I find some of my most beautiful papers in mom and pop scrapbook stores. And as you guys know, that my favorite scrapbook store in Charlotte is the Paper Crafter's Muse, and they are off of Independence Boulevard. So if you have a local mom and pop scrapbook store, or if you happen to have one that might be in driving distance, why not grab a couple of girlfriends and make a day trip out of it? So I hope that my tips have been somewhat helpful. You probably noticed that the majority of my tips more to do with the mental, the motivational, and the inspirational aspect of paper crafting, because there's so much joy and satisfaction to be found in this awesome craft that we share, and I want us all to enjoy it and to experience it. So guys, I hope that you have found this video helpful. If you have, please hit that like button. If you are not a subscriber to my channel, I would love to have you join my amazing online crafting family. You guys, as always, please be safe, be kind, happy crafting, and we'll chat later. Bye.